Entry 17. There has been a change of plans, or rather, I have no choice but to change them. I have learnt that Noriaki Kakyoin failed, and he did not only fail. He did not only fail. If he only failed, I doubt I would be surprised. Every stand battle poses advantages and obstacles to the combatants. Kakyoin's Hierophant Green is a powerful stand, but unlike the world, it is far from invincible. Further, my flesh buds weakened his power. There was always the possibility that he would lose to the enemy's stands. Rather, I am frustrated by what came after his loss. Not only did Jotaro Kujo keep Noriaki Kakyoin alive, he even placed his own life in danger to remove the flesh bud I planted in Kakyoin's brain. Unbelievable. No, it is completely believable. Such an act truly resembles Jonathan Joestar. In other words, something the Kujo boy inherited. Even after a century has passed, the strong will, the mettle, the explosive power of the Joestar family carries on still. I had hoped in these peaceful times they had lost this spirit. I wish they were cowardly. No matter their stand powers, had they not inherited Jonathan's will, I may have let them be. That is no longer an option. Perhaps it is fate. Then let it be so. I will be taking it. They shall be my cornerstone in attaining heaven. Entry 18. I exhausted every means to break Jonathan's heart. In hindsight, the insidious bullying was rather cute. In children's feuds, within a child's limited life, even petty acts were plenty. Especially for Jonathan, it never took very much. Whether it was skipping meals, getting yelled at by father, or losing friends, his heart would completely break apart at every small thing. That utter lack of resistance was truly unforgivable. Jonathan would cry himself to sleep every night. His whininess only irritated me further. A heart like that would collapse in a night of my old town. He might not even make it to 1 hour. His spoilt nature was plain to see. He was at the height of discomfort, which only made me redouble my efforts to take everything from him. But, as I have mentioned, the time I spent tormenting Jonathan did not last very long. As a means of crushing his heart, I laid my hands on his lover. That backfired. Jonathan would not fight back no matter how violated or hurt he was himself, but when others were harmed, especially those whom he cherished, he would explode. I made light of that explosiveness, and I was blown into a wall. In a straight fistfight with Jonathan, I lost. Here I will swallow my pride and openly admit that I cried when I lost. Not from the physical pain, and not crocodile tears like at my father's funeral either, but real tears from the frustration, sadness, and the utter misery of it. Until that moment, I had planned to overwhelmingly stand above Jonathan, but at that moment I learned that was only an illusion. Much like when my father beat my mother or myself until he was satisfied, I resorted to a meaningless action. I cried. Thenceforth, I ended my derisive bullying of Jonathan. I decided I would don the mask of a good child, as I did for Lord Joestar, in front of Jonathan too. But I did not forget. Not for 7 years, the humiliation I felt on that day, and even now, a century later, I have not forgotten. Entry 19. Jonathan's lover, the daughter of a doctor, Erina Pendleton, was a bizarre woman. Perhaps bizarre isn't quite right. I might be unfairly disparaging her, but she was certainly odd. Were it not for her, the Joestar bloodline would not have continued to the present. Without her, I would have been utterly successful in crushing Jonathan's heart. I would have lost my immortality, my eternal youth, but as the next lord of the Joestar family, I would have lived a heavenly life. Yes, as though I was in heaven. I would have been happy. I could have taken back the life that was always being taken away from me. After Jonathan made me cry, after thinking over my own quick temper, I thought to go see what she was up to. I was not thinking of apologizing. I would never do such a thing. I had simply become interested in her. Having her first kiss stolen by me, Dio, but then regaining her pride by washing her lips in muddy water, she piqued my interest. I was interested in how she regained something that was taken from her. Someone who would as unhesitatingly commit such a foolish act as my mother. I was not thinking of how to meet her. Far from it, I intended to observe her from afar. Alas, even that was not granted to me. Due to the circumstances regarding her parents' work or some such thing, the girl disappeared from our town. The circumstances of her parents' work. Does that not sound awfully convenient? I had no means of confirming this, nor do I now 100 years later, but I have thought that the cause of the Pendletons' departure was because I stole her first kiss. Taking such extreme measures might have been justifiable to a dignified family to protect her pride, or perhaps it was an attempt to protect Jonathan Joestar. As time passed, I came to doubt these thoughts. I doubt such a noble, proud woman exists. As before, I don't say this to unfairly disparage her. Rather, it reflects the high opinion I hold of her. But when I think back to her as that young girl and the honest life she lived, I can't help but sense the hands of fate. Mother, Erina Pendleton. It seems it is always holy women that interfere in my life and hinder me. So, she who bears the name Holy, that is, the descendant of Jonathan's Holly Cujo, I'm sure she will interfere with my life as well. Entry 20. I consulted the Darby brothers regarding souls, and learned that my hypothesis was correct. I have no more need to doubt it, as I suspected what is most critical are souls. That is not limited to human souls, it is all of the souls that exist on Earth, including animals, plants, fish, and insects. Let me explain. The ratio of sea to land on Earth is 7-3. In the same way, the number of souls of living creatures are set at a specific amount. To put it simply, as Earth's human population increases, an equal number of creatures belonging to other species will perish. The amount of souls is always constant. It is comparable to, but different from, the law of conservation of mass. This I pondered with the Darby brothers. What does it mean then to have a soul? Does each human own their own soul? The brothers both possess collections of many souls. Is there a way for a single human to have several or several thousand? If souls can be owned, then what does that entail for the owner? 1 stand per soul, 1 soul per person. Such is the rule. Yet I break that very rule. I set the precedent of having both the world and Hermit Purple. 2 stands. Hermit Purple comes from Jonathan's body, but it remains under my control. Then, using that logic, to take over a body might be to take over a soul. Perhaps then I already possess 2 souls, mine alongside Jonathan's. The younger Darby brother has a hobby of sealing his stolen souls inside puppets. I can't really call it a very good hobby. I wonder what would happen if he used humans in place of the dolls. What would occur if souls were placed in different human bodies? If my expectations are accurate, then I could say my preparations are complete. I doubt the younger Darby would perform such an experiment. Placing souls in dolls is his hobby. No doubt his ability was derived purely to service that hobby. To warp that hobby towards my plan goes against the nature of the ability. It would be very difficult. I would not ask him anyway. To be candid, he is still immature. So too is his elder brother. Is there some alternative? I know. I have, in the course of this writing, remembered a name, a face. Yes, with his stand, this experiment may be possible. Enrico Pucci. Someone I met when I visited the United States of America. If I were to use his stand ability. Entry 21. I wanted to go to America in order to meet Pucci, but in the end I chose not to. More urgent matters press on me. I received news from the island nation in the Far East. A flesh-budded agent of mine, Nijimura, is investigating the Joestar descendants. A member of that family, Holly Cujo, recently broke into a fever and collapsed. When Jonathan Joestar's body was pierced by the bow and arrow, through the strange bonds of bloodlines, she too became a stand user. Of course, that's a positive thing as far as I had known, but her stand torments her body. Nijimura called it a stand fever she has only weeks before it kills her. It's incomprehensible, but it seems that some stands cause harmful effects to their masters. A stand is controlled by the strength of one's spirit, one's soul. It is controlled by one's fighting instinct. People with peaceful personalities would not usually have a stand, and should they have one, I suppose they would be unable to control it, and to suffer from it. This seems like a reasonable hypothesis. Then, I believe, Holly Cujo has the sort of personality I thought she had. She is a holy woman. And, just as I predicted, her dramatic collapse hinders me now. Without a doubt, her father Joseph Joestar and her son Jotaro Cujo will make their way to Egypt to defeat me, to destroy Jonathan's body and free her of her stand fever. How reckless of them to venture this way simply to save the life of a relative. Spirit photography could not have conveyed my ultimate goal to them. Without that knowledge, I hoped that they would not make a move so quickly. But now they have set their course, and it is I who must be careful. I am immortal and possess the mightiest stand, but I am regretfully still not accustomed to this body, and what's more, I remain fatally weak to the sun. Should I be attacked alone during daytime, I would be helpless. Nevertheless, I shall not give up my search for the path to heaven. Jonathan Joestar, perhaps, might have set me back, but I do not intend to delay my plans for his descendants. There's no choice. I will call Pucci on the telephone and have him fly to Egypt. He has already visited several times, so I doubt I will have to send someone to welcome him. Instead, I should rather send a welcome to the Joestars. I must spare no expense in offering them a warm welcome. I think the most appropriate stand to send would be Tower of Grey. Destruction and disaster. The tarot card that symbolizes an interrupted journey.